Okay, I think it should work now. So first of all, let me thank you to Orbis Ferrorum and ÖGUF for letting me speak today my lecture about the Býčí Skála Cave in the Moravian Karst, especially thanks to Claudia for organizing everything, and great thanks to Petr Ramsel, who is letting me do this lecture in his office, and he's here. So thank you all for coming, and I hope I won't annoy you too long time, and you will find this presentation interesting because it's about one of the most famous sites in today's Czech Republic, the Býčí Skála Cave. Today I will speak mostly about early Iron Age, but it's also a famous site for its Palaeolithic research, and also in Neolithic and so on. So as already been said, I now study my PhD at Charles University in Prague, so Býčí Skála Cave in the Moravian Karst. Yeah. First of all, just to let you in the topic, Moravia is eastern part of the Czech Republic and culturally belongs to the East Hallstatt culture. All the Moravia, not just its southern part. We can see two cultural groups in Moravia. First one in the northern and central Moravia, Platinice group, and the second one, it's Horákov group in the southern Moravia. It's quite important that we include both of these groups in the East Hallstatt culture, as you can see on the picture. Býčí Skála Cave itself lies in the middle of on the border of these two groups, which is also quite important. And maybe it's also important to say that these two cultural groups we can find just in Hallstatt C1, so in the beginning of Hallstatt period, till D1, and in D2 and D3, when the cultural differences disappear, we just call it Moravia in the late Hallstatt period. Just again, this picture for letting you see the cultural situation more far. What's important also, we can find Platinice group in Bohemia and Western Slovakia. For you, it's well-known Kalendenberg group, and what's quite affecting the situation in Moravia, it's Bekerzug culture, which is here. Maybe it's also important to say how the situation or the look on the Býčí Skála Cave resonated in the foreign countries. In 1995, the Bible of the Býčí Skála Cave was written by a team of researchers led by Hermann Patzinger, Jindra Nekvasil, and Fritz Eckhard. And in the same year, the work from Walter Torbrige, Die Geheimnisse von Horákov, was also published. As you can see, both of the works are from the foreign researchers, not from the Czech one, and it shows the situation about the weak knowledge about Moravia in foreign countries, because in last 30 years, about 90% of new information which is connected to the rescue archaeology we gained from the terrain, and they are not still all qualitatively or quantitatively published, and also many many outputs are in Czech language, and just a few texts in German or English, and also no complete more complex monograph about Moravia, even about Horákov or Platinice group, wasn't released. So that's the situation, that the research of the Moravian Hallstatt period was pushed by foreign authors, and we are like trying to change a little bit the situation, and we can say put the Moravian Hallstatt period in the game again. Now, Central Cave Sanctuary, Býčí Skála. You can read some of the proclamations, the secret of the Býčí Skála Cave, eternal secrecy of the Býčí Skála, greatest secret of the Moravian prehistoric period. So even for domestic researchers, Býčí Skála Cave was something really special, secret, and we can say every researcher has its own opinion on this central site. And after many years of research, we can say some of the questions were already answered, but there is more and more questionary marks now, even after our excavations. A treasure of Moravian prehistory from 1872. Býčí Skála Cave lies in the Moravian Karst. You can see this image in the central part here, and it's the second largest cave in the Czech Republic, with its longitude about 18 kilometers. But in the prehistory, just a small part was used. We will see the picture again. The history of research. Maybe it's necessary to say that not just archaeologists, but also many other researchers like speleologists, geologists, and other scientists enter the cave and do their research here. Cave was also influenced by sand mining in the middle of 19th century, and what's crucial, it was part of the Vranov-Křtiny-Lichtenstein complex, which is maybe not known name for you, but maybe you can know Lednice-Baltice-Lichtenstein complex, which is based on the same structure. It's a romantic Lichtenstein park, and Býčí Skála Cave itself was quite remodeled inside. So it's necessary to mention it also. Architect was Josef Hartmut, and landscape architect, because it's not just inside the cave, but also the park constructions outside the cave, and the landscape architect was Bernhard Petri. So Býčí Skála Cave also lies in the beginning of tourism in today's Czech Republic, and these touristic visits inside the cave left us some interesting inscriptions on the walls of the cave. Like here you can see the inscription of Josef Hartmut, or famous General Baron von Lauden. One of the most important or most prominent person who ever entered the cave was Emperor František II and his wife Maria Theresia, Naples, Sicilian. Here you can see the reconstruction of their visit inside the cave. Now to the history of research itself. In 1862, Heinrich Wankel interested about the Býčí Skála Cave, and he made some sondage inside the entrance hall, southern branch, and pagan stones. But he didn't found Býčí Skála Cave so interesting, so he quit the cave, quite excavation in the cave, and left it. But after the discovery of the bronze figurine by cousins Felkos, he decided to ask Liechtensteins for money for new excavation. He received them, and in 1872 he made aerial excavation in wall entrance hall. So that's the famous discovery from 1872. On the photo you can see a young Heinrich Wankel, and here is a reconstruction of Heinrich Wankel and his daughter examining objects found in the cave. He was the first who enters the cave, but there are more researchers who take excavations inside the cave, like Martin Kříž in 1891 and 1892. In the 1920s, German amateur archaeologists in southern branch searching for Palaeolithic situation. In 1936, 1938, famous Czech researcher Karel Absolon, also in the southern branch for the Paleolithic excavation. In 1937, Hans Freising, again in the entrance hall. And in the 1990s, there was an attempt to raise enough funding for the excavation by the Býčí Skála Cave Foundation. But we can say maybe fortunately, it was never realized. In 2020, we decided to do sondage excavation inside the entrance hall together with Martin Gullens and wider team of the specialists. And these excavations were led in 2 years, in 2020 and 2021. Here you can see some important publications about the Býčí Skála Cave. First one, of course, was Bilder aus der Mährischen Schweiz und ihrer Vergangenheit, released or published here in Vienna in 1882. As I said already, the Bible from Hermann Partzinger from 1995, and many other works, mostly from the years which are ending on 5, like Záhada Býčí skály, or the latest work of Martin Gullens from 2017, The Phenomenon of the Býčí Skála Cave. Now the use of the cave in time, as I already said, for us or for me, it's most important Hallstatt period, and and also Paleolithic research here, but you can also inside the cave find other time periods like partly Neolithic, Bronze Age, and so on. Quite important is a Neolithic period where you can find inside the cave one of the oldest painting in the cave. Also Classicism or Romanticism as a part of the Vranov, Křtiny, Liechtenstein area. And what's also for us important, World War II, because during 1945, there was an attempt to construct the secret underground Nazi factory for crafting some parts for the war industry. But now we can say that this construction didn't affect the situations in the Býčí Skála so terribly how it was fought before. I will speak about this a little bit later. Basic principles to study the Býčí Skála Cave again and again. Okay, sorry. It's important to say why the Býčí Skála and why still do one same site. Well, because of the systematic data collection since 2017, and for Býčí Skála Cave since 2007, we can say the Býčí Skála Cave is one of the most important sites for the all Hallstatt period in Moravia, because when you study the society from top down and you begin with elites, then you can find the biggest concentration of elite finds from all the Moravia in one place, and it's Býčí Skála Cave. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I got like my screen turned off. Now it's working. Thank you, Petra. Just very briefly, for us, it's really important also chronology, because when you want to study society, so it's quite like a long time period from 800 BC till 450 BC, and more precise chronology, it's important when you want to divide stages and so on. So here you can see the important elements for Moravian, of course, not just Moravian chronology, like wagons, yokes, parts of the horse harnesses, belts, weapons, and so on. Also, of course, fibulae. And maybe just say that for Moravian prehistory or Moravian Hallstatt period, the most important is to use the chronology based on the metal finds. When you use chronology, you know, I know this table looks terrible. I won't explain it all, but when you do the precise chronology, you can study Býčí Skála Cave in the different stages, which is quite important because before, by many researchers, Býčí Skála Cave or event in the Býčí Skála Cave were considered to be single-time event. So once and never again. But when you study all the artifacts from the Býčí Skála Cave, you see the differences in the time periods, and you can say that Býčí Skála already started sometimes around 600 BC, and it's finishing about 450 BC with Hallstatt D3. I will speak about this later also. Chronological topics and problematics of sources. What's important to say that elites of the Moravian Hallstatt period appears already in Hallstatt C2, but they are like spread in all the landscape in elite mounds and so on. But in Hallstatt D1, they already disappearing from the landscape, and without the Býčí Skála Cave, you have no elites in all the Moravian landscape. But when you took Býčí Skála Cave, you can see that all the elite stuff, it's now placed in the one place, and it's the Býčí Skála Cave. You can see here on the picture two centers of Platinice group and Horákov group here, and these two centers probably generated the Býčí Skála Cave sanctuary together. We can say it also based on our excavation in Býčí Skála Cave, and of course about the artifacts. So Býčí Skála Cave, it's not generated from one center, from this center, which is a little bit closer, but probably from both of them. Role of the Býčí Skála Cave for the research of Hallstatt D in Moravia. Here you can see the plan of the Býčí Skála Cave. This is předsíň, which is entrance hall, southern branch, which is Jižní odbočka, famous for its Paleolithic research. And from this line behind the southern branch, you cannot find other artifacts from other periods, and also not from Hallstatt period. So most of the artifacts from Hallstatt period you can find in the entrance hall. What we think about the Býčí Skála Cave now? So first of all, it's necessary to say it's a horizontal cave with small entrances. You can go inside by foot and you don't have to climb anywhere. So it's not a portal or chimney cave. It's important to say. And when you can go inside or walk inside the cave, it will be always multifunctional area, and you have problem when you won't find just one interpretation or one function of this place. So in 2020, Martin Golec suggested 4 practical functions for Býčí Skála Cave. First one, it's visiting, residential, production, and sacrificial burial and sacrificial votive. We think it's based on the new work with contacts. We try to return to the original sources of finder Heinrich Wankel, and because some of his descriptions are quite appropriate, and it's the biggest change against the work of Hermann Parzinger, who suggested the cave to be like sacrificial place, compared to Slovenian cave Mušajama, which is chimney cave, and the situation here it's made by throwing objects inside the cave, but in Býčí Skála Cave they are continuously put in the cave and buried in the cave and not thrown. Here you can see the situation from the entrance hall. So here are the so-called cremation grounds, the big one and the small one. here lies most of the burials or skeletons. Here it's suggested the so-called smithy with the finds of artifacts and waste, production waste, and so on, and the big shard ground. Identification of elites, just briefly, we can set the suggestion of Wolfgang Kimmich, who said elite, you can what's elite you can consider like princely seat, burial monuments, and luxury imports, and this definition is basically still valid today. Here you can see two examples. First one, these are female so-called female magnates with compound belts, which is quite local phenomenon, Moravian one. And in Horákov group, you can find these luxury belts, which are sometimes constructed from at maximum 15,000 of small bronze rings. You can find them in the graves, like in Modřice. And in the Platinice group, same belts are stored or deposited in the hoards. Again, Býčí Skála, just a graph for see, in 2018, before the discovery of the Wagons, which I will speak about later, almost 40% of all elite finds were placed in the Býčí Skála from all the Moravia. So you take almost half of the things from elites and put them into the cave. Some examples of elite context from Hallstatt D. Here you can see the female graves with compounded belt, also a male grave with thoraeutics. This is a famous hoard from Náklo, or a stone architecture from Jevíčko. Or here some elite context from later period, also Hallstatt D or LTA. It's of course Býčí Skála with its gold or Wagon parts, but also some hoards like Kralice na Hané, or some specific type of architecture like a homestead in Kuřim, or elite hill fort Ježkovice with Acropolis and suburbium divided with elite hoards like parts of the Wagon and so on. A social background of the Býčí Skála cave, compound belt woman graves. As you can see just on the map, it's the phenomenon of Horákov group, which I already said. You have some examples here. Some of them you can very rarely find in foreign countries, like here in Altheim, Heiligkreuz, Speckau, or I guess in here in Austria in Thunau am Kamp. What's from the second group, from the Platinice group, stored inside the Býčí Skála cave? Probably the hoards. As you can see on the picture, hoards are the phenomenon of just Platinice group. It's specific. You can see some examples here. And in the Býčí Skála cave were stored some of the artifacts which are not connected to the skeletons or to the burials. Like these bracelets, which are connected into the chain, so they were placed inside the cave as a water. Here, just the amber. Amber is one of the key commodities which we can find also in the Býčí Skála cave. And after one new discovery from the hoard of Bánov, where is almost 2,000 pieces of amber, Býčí Skála cave, it's now second largest concentration of the amber of the all Moravia. Glass beads, also the biggest concentration of glass beads from all the Moravia. You can find almost or slightly more than 4,000 subtle glass beads. as you can see here, like on the examples. And also the typological spectrum of beads suggested that maybe there was a local workshop or some local preparation of glass beads, as already suggested there Elisabeth Havernick in 1979. Now I will slightly move to the topic of the wagons inside the Býčí Skála Cave, because wagons and horse harnesses and everything concerning topic of the horses, it's my great hobby. I'm interested about this topic since 2014 and about wagons from Býčí Skála since 2019. And in 2019, I decided to do a new analysis of the wagons from Býčí Skála Cave, because there was some not yet clearly answered questions. My analysis is based on the chronological typological analysis published in works of Christopher Peyer and Martin Traxel. First big question is, how many wagons we have inside the Býčí Skála Cave? Well, there were many opinions. Some of the scholars suggested that we have 3 wagons, as you can see here, or Christopher Peyer already 5 wagons, Martin Traxel 10 wagon units, but he never said the final number of the wagons. And some analogies were also published by Julia Katarina Koch in 2006. So why the numbers are so different? Well, there is quite big problem that researchers only work with the wheel components and then did not consider others, which Fritz Eckhard Barr did not safely arrange among other parts of the wagons. I started to do it differently. I took all the possible parts of the wagons and then I made the analysis. So then we can work also with the parts of the wagon body or the decoration of the wagons, which is quite important, as you will see a little bit later. And can we speak about the funeral wagons or burial wagons? This question, it's already answered by Heinrich Wankel when he's describing the finding situation. You can read it in German here, or in the core lay pieces of wheels, iron naves of wheels lined with bronze, and beneath them some partially calcified and partially charred remains of an individual. So it means basically that on the wagon was lying someone, and after this description, which is quite pointing to just one wagon, we can say it's wagon V1. And of course, also it's necessary to say that all other wagons in all the Europe we can find just in the funeral or burial context, which means in graves. Wagon components and Býčí Skála Cave and their context. Also, first step was the typological and chronological determination of wagon components. Basically, here you can see the combination table, which is really important. Firstly was the typology chronology, and what's the most important, the minimum number of different components. Sounds terrible, but practically it means when you have 6 nave caps of 6 different types, it means you have to have 6 wagons, because in one wagon, different nave caps are never combined. So you have 6 types of nave caps, 5 types of spoke fittings, and so on, which means also that you have to have 6 wagons at least. Also, style similarity helped me to set the combination of the wagon, and also existence of reconstructed wagon exhibited here at the Naturhistorisches Museum in Vienna, and the identification of parts of the almost identical wagon like in Eberdingen, Hochdorf, which I will speak in the moment. So The answer is we have seven contexts of wagons in the Býčí Skála Cave after the combination of all elements, as you can see here. And 6 context means existence of 6 different wagons marked by me as wagon V1 till wagon V6. And 7 context is unrecognized semi-finished products for the production of sheet metal parts for the wagon body V7, which points to some storage of rests or waste from the local production workshop. Here, slightly about wagon V1. This picture is just for show you some most prominent or most frequent analogies like Donauwörth or Remahiegel and so on. Here is your Viennese wagon V1 with its different components, and on the left side his twin, almost twin from Stuttgart but Cannstatt, and they have at least 5 analogies together, and they differ just in the decoration of the wagon body, as you can see here. Wagon V3 was the biggest surprise because all the analogies points to the one type of the wagon in Europe, and it's a wagon from the most richly furnished male grave in Hochdorf. It's on the left side, and same components we can find also in the Býčí Skála Cave. First of all, it's necessary to say that wagon in Hochdorf was the only one which is covered by iron. And also in the Býčí Skála Cave, one of the wagon has its wheels covered by iron, and it bears almost identical decoration. So it's the same type also of the wagon naves, tires, and so on. They differ in just one detail, which is part of the wagon body. From Hochdorf, it's iron also, like the wheels, but in Býčí Skála Cave, it's almost the same decoration, but in bronze. So about 800 kilometers in Býčí Skála Cave, there is a twin of Hochdorf wagon. And briefly about wagon V6, I chosen the most interesting one. It's the last wagon which was deposited inside the cave. We have just a few parts, mostly the parts of the naves, some fittings, tires, decorations, and so on. And this dating is also supported by the existence of some decoration of horse harnesses. And what's quite interesting about one decoration pin was laced with the coral necklace, which was unrecognized. Here you can see interregional context of the example of the wagons of the Býčí Skála Cave. I've marked some most frequent analogies. As you can see here, most of them you can find in Baden-Württemberg, which is quite surprising because when we start to find analogies or search for analogies, we always look to the neighboring regions like Bohemia or Poland or so on and so on. But these wagons have probably its origin in Baden-Württemberg. Just briefly about source areas of other types of artifacts from Býčí Skála Cave. It's not just about wagons, but also about amber, about thorautics, weapons, and so on. And you can see the source areas. We have artifacts coming from Poland, from Etruria, from Slovakia, and so on. So even from the north, south, west, and east. Yeah, here are just some of the examples suggested, which artifacts came from which direction. So there is a western direction like belts, fibulae, and so on. Amber from north, some Eastern type finds like so-called Scythian chickens or Eastern type arrowheads, part of the goritos, or chickpeas of a horse harnesses, Southern origin, like some types of glass, fibulae, pterotics, and so on, and about some artifacts or finds, we think that they have Moravian origin, like compounded belts, types of the bracelets, and so on. Elites from Moravia and Austria. I just wanted to show you some similarities between Býčí Skála and Austrian sites. So famous bull figurine from Býčí Skála have very similar elements like vessels from Gemeine or famous cow with calf from Hallstatt. Also here you can see the style from Klein, so the pointed pterotics. It's also can be also found in the Býčí Skála Cave. So for conclusion of Wagons, not all the lecture yet, we can say that we have some basic facts. Like in Hallstatt D1, we have no longer elite burials in the landscape. In Býčí Skála Cave, there is at least 6 wagons and maybe part of the workshop. They are dating, you can see here, and the most frequent analogies are in Baden-Württemberg. Also, we can conclude it's the largest concentration of metal-covered wagons from all the Hallstatt period in Europe in one place, in like one grave or burial ground. And maybe there is also a local workshop for production of prestigious items. Of course, we can see in Býčí Skála Cave a strong connection with elites. And after Wankel's description, there is a burial of prince or princess on the wagon, probably. And concerning the wagon from Hochdorf and the Býčí Skála Cave, we can think maybe at least about same craftsman, workshop, technique, and so on. And of course, it points to the long distance context. And what was quite surprising, there is a rediscovering of elites in Hallstatt D3 and in Býčí Skála Cave. And we suggest the dating of the Býčí Skála Cave about 125 years about main function. You have you can see here some artifacts, and they are dating their division into 3 different stages, which is Skála 1, 2, and 3. So now interpretation, offering place or burying ground, and why not both or more? From 1872, many scholars have different opinion and interpretation about the Býčí Skála Cave. Some of them are considered to be valid till today, but when you are testing them with basic 3 questions, you can see it's not possible to have now some of these interpretation. Main questions are, is this cave horizontal and then contact, or it's a vertical cave and non-contact? And the answer is cave is horizontal. How long the processes in the cave lasted? Approximately about 125 years, so not a single time even. And then, does interpretation counts with the highest elites? Yes, in the Býčí Skála Cave, definitely. So the burial of the magnate or bloody family revenge or beating of the group of refugees or blacksmith, or some obscure interpretations like the fall of the cave ceiling, we can just delete because it's not it can not be burdened with these three questions. Now we can think about the Býčí Skála Cave. It's a cave sanctuary with elite burials. Entrance hall as a sanctuary. 4 different use of the place in the Hallstatt period. Votive place at the north wall. Also, it's necessary to say all the artifacts are not connected with elites, and they are probably somehow devoted in the and offered in the cave, especially the food remains, or as you can see, the bracelets. In the middle of the cave, we have buried people, and the rest of the production workshop here, and concentration of ceramic vessels with food somewhere here. There is artistic reconstruction of the burial of a magnate or a prince. Heinrich Wankel himself described one magnate which had the dagger, and he is not originally burned magnate on the Wagon, or that magnate described on the Wagon. Býčí Skála Cave as a burial of a princess, or the burial ground, or a tomb. He described 4 female magnates, and the most famous one of them is the so-called Wankel's princess with the golden earrings. It's the skull he never sold, of course, and now it's stored in the Moravian museum. Here you can see artistic reconstruction of how this Wankel's princess can look, and this is the older one from Brian. Sanctuary Býčí Skála as a smithy. Wankel also described the smithy as a place production of iron, bronze, and bronze with tools and semi-finished products. Critically, we have to say we don't know if the production itself took place inside the Býčí Skála Cave, or just the production waste and the tools were placed inside the Býčí Skála Cave. But there is many tools like axes, hammers, and ingots and semi-finished products and so on. And here there is also artistic reconstruction. And last but not least, Býčí Skála Cave as a central place. We allowed us to include Býčí Skála Cave like one part of the bigger unknown central sites of the Hallstatt culture in Hallstatt D1 till D3, with the highest concentration of elites in all the Europe, as you can see on the picture, like Hallstatt, Klein, Závist near Prague, Hohenasperg, and so on. The question is, where the people from the Býčí Skála cave lived? Well, it's a big question. In the 2020, we suggested that might be one settlement structure to Býčí Skála Cave, 12 kilometers from Býčí Skála Cave Hillfort, Ješkovice Černov, which can be connected also with the existence of the Býčí Skála Cave and their phases. And it's one of the most interesting also LTA sites because there is more than 15 iron hoards, and also it's Hillfort with Acropolis and Suburbium divided. And also the first hoard of the elite category in LTA were found here with bronze spot and the parts of the wagons. It's not yet published. And now to the prisons, if I have still time, but I hope so. Prisons, Býčí Skála Cave, and our contemporary research. With Martin Golec, we prepared the project in 2017, 2019, or Firstly, the preparation works, papers, books, and so on were published in 3 years to be prepared for the project. And in 2019, the project, we applied for the project of excavation, sondage excavation inside the Býčí Skála Cave. Finally, we got permission, and we received the permission for 3 years, but we were just quick, and the excavation took place in 2 years, in 2020 and 2021. This year, the excavation won't continue. The principal investigator was Palaeolithic University in Olomouc, Martin Golec with colleague Lukáš Kučera from Department of Analytical Chemistry, and I as a co-investigator from Charles University Prague. Of course, regional partners like Moravian Museum in Brno and many other institutions from Czech Republic, like universities, museums, Academy of Science, and so on. And all these people are helping us with processing of the material from the excavation. So what's the objective of the project? First of all, it was the revision of Wankel profiles from 1872. If his description really really corresponds to reality in the cave. Second one was obtaining of new scientific samples. And the third one, which is not written here, was how the construction from World War II affected the situation in the Býčí Skála Cave. So here is a map of the cave with geographical position of our sondage. And as you can see here, there was sondage 1 and 2. I won't speak about them because they were negative, and after 20 centimeters, we discovered concrete. So we started with sondage 3, 4, and in this year, 5 and 6. I will also explain why these weird shapes have the sondage. So entrance hall in 2020-2022. Wankel described 5 layers. First one was Wankel A, sandy or clay layer. Second one, limestone. Wankel C, burnt lime, or the so-called cave center. Wankel D, black coal layer, or more probably results of organic decomposition. And Wankel E, cave loss or sandy layer. There is an original image from Wankel, original profile showing the situation. And here is a profile of Docent Pelíšek, who discovered almost identical layers like Wankel described. So as you can see here, clay, stones, so-called travertine, carbon, and sand. Here just some pictures from the excavation, how it looks like when you dig inside the cave. Works inside like sieving, and outside flotation of ore sediments, of course, has to be outside the cave. Now to the sondage. There is a sondage 3, which was near the so-called smithy in the corridor, or in the empty part between the concrete parts. The concrete is from 1944-45, and we've been very lucky because in one small triangular shape here in 2020, we discovered original untouched profile, not destructed by Wankel or someone after him. But the sondage was too small, so we waited 1 year to put away the concrete here, and we can continue with excavation. What you can see here, it's probably Wankel's layer A. Inside these small sandy colorful layers, we found some parts of human bones like fingers or small parts of bronze artifacts like bracelets and ceramic. So it was untouched, fluid layer. Unfortunately, below the layer, we haven't discovered the layers Wankel B, C, D, and so on. But this layer basically lied on the layer E, which is cave floors, and which was sterile from Hallstatt period found. So, but still we continued here and trying to search for the Paleolithic artifacts, and which we found also here. Here is sondage 4. It looks a little bit messy, but I guess it's after the taking some samples already in this photograph. In this sondage, we discovered mixed Wankel's layers. How we know it? Because in first 5 centimeters, you can find recent things like brown wooden samples, recent nails, and so on. But after this, just Hallstatt period finds. So we've been very lucky, and about 1 meter and 10 centimeters, also the part of the black layer, the so-called cola layer here, or cremation ground here. This part, which you can see here, it's a concrete collector who goes until 70 centimeters below the surface, and it's quite nice discover that it hasn't destroyed the most important layers. So even the deepest war constructions, in fact, didn't destroy the situations inside the Býčí Skála Cave, and it's quite valuable. Also, we've captured fluid, some small fluid layer between 2 layers C and D, as you can see here on the picture. And what was quite nice, that we found some construction element, wooden pole, as you can see here. And we've been very lucky and happy, and said, yes, we will have a dendrological datum, but unfortunately for Hallstatt period, 50 years of the rings, it's not enough. So we have no datum, and maybe next time we just know it's the wood oak. Sondage 5 from this year. It's bigger than the sondage 4 or sondage 3. As you can see here, we wanted to discover basically how the cave was wide during the Wankel's period, because during the World War II, the cave bench and the pillar were destroyed to make some more space inside the cave. And we are lucky, we discovered the bench here, as you can see, and the part of the so-called cremation ground. As you can see, the black layer here. So we were able to take some samples. On the cremation ground or on the black layer lied some nice artifacts like big parts of the rims of the wagons or some imported pottery. Some ditch sticks in other part of the cave. That's why it has so weird shape, because we wanted to discover it, how the pillar exactly went, and it was quite important for the reconstruction of the process and especially the flutes inside the cave. So there is a pillar, and the second objective was to find the so-called stone paving from Wankel. As you can see here, we discovered some huge stones which are in the same exact position described by Heinrich Wankel. And now we know it's not artificial or human-made paving, but it's just the part of the pillar who fell down, and the Hallstatt period people use it like for the burials, but it's not artificial and so on. What was quite interesting and really important, we discovered this untouched layer, who seems for us to be the Wankel layer A, but then below it we discovered mixed layers C and D, and then we realized it's the layer from 1927, the flute, which is historically captured. So here it looks, here you can see how it looks like when the flute visits the cave. Because sometimes when inside the Býčí Skála Cave, when it's much more water, the cave river leave its river bank, and sometimes can visit also entrance hall and flood everything inside the cave. Here you can see the picture of some analyses or some tape samples which were taken during our excavations. So what's quite nice, we from every 10-liter bucket, we've got like 1 liter of macro residues, what's quite unusual. So here you can see macro residues. Here it's micro sediments taking quite very important, especially for the flooding events. Here it's unfortunately the dendrochronology, which for us wasn't so good. Here it's Professor Pavling taking samples for bacteriological research, and some new method like soil DNA, which we are trying also. So that was the present, and now what about the future? We are trying to finish all the analyses, and we are expecting results of scientific samples taken, and we expect to receive new informations in more levels like archaeological field analysis and specific analysis also from the depositories. So you can see chemical samples, sediments, palynology, and so on, and various analysis like ceramic isotopes also. And also we are trying to also concentrate on analysis of the material from museums, because we have new material, and all the time it's good to compare it with all the material, like new anthropological analysis and so on. In the next 5 years, we expect to publish the new monograph. The phenomenon is the working name, the phenomenon of the Býčí Skála Cave 2 New Insight, where all the results of all the analyses should be published together. Just to summarize, first results of the Býčí Skála Cave project. So we found some new artifacts which never been discovered inside the Býčí Skála Cave, like linchpins or very fine imported Adriatic pottery, so it's quite nice, or Nordic pin from the northern Poland. Also some nice bronze parts of the belts, of course. Then what's quite interesting, inside the Býčí Skála Cave, we have combination of both rites, burial rites like cremation and inhumation. That's what we can certainly say about the after the excavation. So it might be connected also with the Platinice and Horákov group. We will see. Also, maybe some burning and anaerobic rooting. It's documented by chemistry. Firstly, Wankel thought, and other scholars thought that a cremation ground, it's just cremation, but some parts are most probably connected to the cave manganese and anaerobic rooting, and of course also burning. So it's more complicated than even before. Some macro residues seems to be also transported from different areas. That's just the first signal. And microstratigraphy shows various flooding events also during the use of the cave in the Hallstatt period. So even in the Hallstatt period, they knew that the flood will enter the cave, and the flood entered the cave also during the use of the cave. So quite very important and interesting. The cave was firstly cleaned before they begin with the construction in the inside the cave. What does it mean? Basically, the Hallstatt period layers sit on the Palaeolithic layers directly, and it's quite weird. It looks like everything older was wiped out, and they cleaned the surface. And then they began directly construct something inside the entrance hall. Also, we can suggest that there was some kind of an architecture, because the wooden pole which we found wasn't the first one. The first one was already described by Heinrich Wankel, and he's also describing small burnt places. He think it was like fireplaces, but after his description, his fireplace look exactly like our wooden pole. So it's not. It's probably that inside the cave we can find even more construction elements and wooden poles. So, and what's important, that these chambers or constructions or so on were placed to the largest fluid flow intentionally. They didn't choose the place inside the cave, which is not fluided, like the farthest part, the northern part of the cave, but they put it in exactly where the water flows near the pillar until the lower entrance. So we can maybe already said the way water played important role during the burial rite in the Býčí Skála Cave. I guess it's the last slide. Focus on the people or Vienna adventure. In March, so this month, I'm with my colleagues. We are in Vienna to do something more. Also, I would like to thank Naturhistorische Museum Vienna, Anthropological and Archaeological Department for allowing us to do all the analysis and observation of the schools and material, because it's quite important for us. And in these days, my colleague Schneeberger and Verdi are now doing new anthropological examination of the skulls from Býčí Skála Cave. And next week we will, with colleague Jakub Trubač, focus on some sampling and isotope analysis. So it's the project which will take a part of the big project of the Býčí Skála Cave excavation and the Býčí Skála Cave project and its evaluation. After this, we will also evaluate these observations, and maybe in the far future do some DNA analysis and facial reconstruction of the individuals and so on. Some nice pictures from our excavations, from flooding and digging and so on. And there is a mascot of our excavation. So really, thank you for your attention. And if you have some questions, don't hesitate to ask me. I will try to respond to you as best as I can.
Okay, thank you very much.